Most people believe the rich get richer because they have more money, and on the surface, that explanation seems obvious. If someone starts with $1 million and someone else starts with 10,000, the person with $1 million has a huge advantage. But that answer doesn't go deep enough, because money itself isn't the real story. The real story is what money allows people to own. And once you understand that distinction, you begin to see why wealth often grows like an avalanche. Not because rich people work harder, not because they are smarter, not because the game is rigged in every case, but because they are playing a fundamentally different game. A game that most people don't even realize exists. Imagine two people. The first person earns money by working. Every month they trade time for income. When they stop working, the income stops too. The second person also works, but instead of spending everything they earn, they gradually acquire assets, businesses, stocks, real estate, intellectual property, things that continue producing value long after the initial effort is complete. At first, the difference seems small, almost invisible, but over time, it becomes enormous. Because one person owns income, the other owns the machines that create income, and ownership changes everything. Most people spend their lives focused on income, how to earn more, how to negotiate a raise, how to find a better paying job. These are important goals, but income has a hidden limitation. It depends on you. There are only 24 hours in a day, only so much energy, only so many years. No matter how talented someone becomes, time eventually creates a ceiling. Assets don't have the same limitation. A stock doesn't care whether you're sleeping. A rental property doesn't stop generating rent because you're on vacation. A business can continue producing revenue while its owner is doing something else entirely. Assets separate earnings from time, and that separation is one of the most powerful forces in wealth creation. This is where many people misunderstand the rich. They see someone living in a large house or driving an expensive car and assume consumption created the wealth. But consumption is usually the result. Ownership is the cause. The luxury lifestyle is the visible part. The assets are the invisible part. And the invisible part is almost always more important. Think about a tree. Most people notice the branches, the leaves, the fruit, but everything depends on the roots hidden underground. Wealth works the same way. The visible lifestyle attracts attention. The ownership structure underneath creates the results. And ownership has a fascinating characteristic. It compounds. Compounding is often described as earning returns on returns, but that definition doesn't fully capture how powerful it really is. Imagine a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, the growth seems unimpressive. It gains only a little snow, but every layer creates a larger surface area. A larger surface area collects more snow. More snow creates an even larger surface area. The process accelerates. What began as a tiny snowball becomes an avalanche. Money behaves similarly. A person who owns productive assets earns returns. Those returns can purchase more assets. Those assets generate additional returns, which purchase even more assets. The cycle feeds itself. Eventually, growth begins to appear almost effortless from the outside. But what people are seeing is not magic. They're seeing years or decades of compounding. The challenge is that human psychology is not naturally designed to appreciate compounding. Humans evolved in environments where immediate rewards mattered. If our ancestors found food today, they survived. If they postponed eating for benefits 20 years later, they didn't. Our brains evolved to prioritize the present. The future feels distant, abstract, less real. This is why spending money often feels more satisfying than investing it. The reward is immediate, visible, emotional. Investing is the opposite. The reward is delayed, invisible, boring. And because it feels boring, many people underestimate its importance. This creates one of the biggest differences between those who build wealth and those who don't. Not intelligence, not education, not even income. Time horizon. The ability to think beyond immediate gratification. The ability to sacrifice a small pleasure today for a much larger reward later. The rich are not always better at this, but the people who become wealthy often are. Because wealth is less about making one brilliant decision and more about making thousands of ordinary decisions consistently. Small amounts invested repeatedly. Small expenses avoided repeatedly. Small assets accumulated repeatedly. Over long periods, these seemingly insignificant actions become life-changing. But psychology is only part of the story. There is another force at work. A force hidden inside the structure of the economy itself. Modern economies reward ownership disproportionately. If you own a valuable business and that business grows, your wealth grows. If you own shares in companies and those companies expand, your wealth grows. If you own real estate in a growing area, your wealth grows. In many cases, the owner benefits from the efforts of hundreds, thousands, or even millions of people. This creates a powerful asymmetry. Employees are usually paid for their contribution. Owners are rewarded for the success of the entire system. A software engineer writes code. A shareholder benefits from every engineer in the company. A store manager manages one location. An owner benefits from every location. The larger the system becomes, the greater the difference. Ownership creates leverage, and leverage is one of the least understood concepts in wealth creation. Leverage means getting results beyond your direct effort. Technology is leverage. Capital is leverage. Teams are leverage. Systems are leverage. The wealthy often accumulate more wealth because they control more leverage, not necessarily because they work more hours, but because their work is amplified. One decision can influence thousands of outcomes. One investment can generate returns for decades. One asset can produce income repeatedly. Meanwhile, many people remain trapped in a different cycle, a cycle built around consumption. Every increase in income creates an increase in spending. A better apartment, a newer car, more subscriptions, more upgrades. This is known as lifestyle inflation. The problem isn't that these purchases are inherently bad. The problem is that they often prevent the acquisition of assets. Money that could have become ownership becomes consumption instead. And while consumption provides temporary satisfaction, ownership often provides long-term growth.